Welcome to episode 4 of the Black and White Bistro, where black and white photographers meet. Our goal is simple: to provide a quality space where artists who enjoy black and white photography can get to know each other. Today, we're proud to introduce you to Ralf Dubbelfeld, who makes his home in the Nordrhein region of Germany. Now, coming to you from his home near Dusseldorf, here's Ralf.
Hello, David. Hello, I'm Ralf. I was born in Cologne in Germany here 62 years ago. And now I'm living in a small town near Düsseldorf. On Vero, I mostly show black and white photography. And Vero is my only social media account. In real life, I'm a headmaster of a middle school. I started with photography in the late 80s. I used to develop photos in my own darkroom by myself. My first camera was a Praktica LTL. But after a while, I switched formats and bought a Mamiya C330, the one with the double lenses, and an RB67. My first digital camera was the Nikon D200, and this changes everything. The process of digital editing changed my view on photography. It was interesting how my approach to take black and white photographies changed through this. And I never stopped taking black and white photos because my only intention was to hunt the light and make it visual. The play of light and shadow fascinated me. And I bought a cue, but I gave this one to my beloved wife. And after this, I bought this one you can see here on the top of the shelf. It's an old M8, 16 years old or 70 years old. And I bought it because it's incredibly slow, and that's the kind of photography I like the most.
Many thanks, my friend. In the next few minutes, we'll discover 3 of his hand-picked personal favorite images and the story behind each, and we'll hear his answers to 4 black and white photography questions we've prepared for him. Let's enjoy Ralph's first artist-selected image and learn the story behind it. And for the first time on Black and White Bistro, our artist will share his photo story in his own voice.
Picture 1. Closed window in front of a stormy landscape. I've been trying to photograph the scenery of one of my favorite places for about 15 years now. Here we are on the Danish island called Fanø. I've taken 5 to 10 pictures of the scenery every year, but I've never managed to capture the feelings I associate with this place. On this day, a storm blew in from the west, and a gap in the clouds briefly illuminated the closed wooden window. Interestingly, these were my first attempts at long exposures with a new old Leica M8. I mounted my camera on a tripod, selected aperture 11, and also screwed an ND filter with a strength of 10 on it. This allowed me to choose an exposure of 4 seconds at daylight. I wanted to push my newly acquired M8 camera, which was at this time already 18 years old, to the limit in order to explore the technical possibilities of the camera. I hoped that the strong wind would blur the grasses and give them a character-like structure. I also wanted the cloud to take on a blurred structure so that my protagonist, the closed window, and get a magical lightning on the weathered wood, which was only present for a short time and would stand out more clearly. I've subsequently taken other photos using this method, but none of them come close to this picture, and I consider it a success because it really reflects my perception of this place. I hope I can convey my admiration for this landscape through this photo.
We asked Ralf to tell us about his photography journey and when he decided to focus on black and white. Here's what he said. I started with black and white in the 1980s. The decisive factor was my encounter with the 3 books by Ansel Adams, which made me fall in love with black and white photography. I really wanted to get to know about this fascinating art, so I built my own darkroom. At the beginning, I put my main focus on the technical aspects. After I had bought a spot exposure meter, I set off with my Praktica LTL to explore the world. I always had a Kodak gray card with 18% reflection and a Gaussian light meter with me. A quite elaborate setup considering that in the 1980s this equipment was indispensable to create an excellent black and white photo. After further studies of Ansel Adams' work, I decided to switch to the medium format and acquired a Mamiya C330. I then spent days and nights in my darkroom looking for all 11 zones Ansel Adams always realized in his photographs. Over time, this intensive experience opened up the possibility to see my world in black and white. Then I upgraded to a Mamiya RB67. Now an opulent and artistic world in shades of gray had opened up before my eyes. And that accompanies me in my photography to this very day. We asked Ralf, why does black and white photography appeal to you, and how do you know when you've created a successful black and white photograph? He said, the largest part of my work as a photographer is black and white because I love its aesthetics. It's the essence of the subject that we discover in black and white photographs. Additionally, a great number of interpretation possibilities open up with black and white because there's no distraction due to color or color contrast. How do I know when I've created a successful photograph? In all my photos, I try to tell a story. The viewer should be led to the situation, but then should be able to have his or her own thoughts about what the story might be. It's about creating the possibility for a person to develop and discover their own feelings created by my image. When light and shadow are right, the contrast range and composition are clearly visible, and a great emotionality speaks from the picture, then I know that this photo has succeeded. Now let's enjoy Ralf's second artist-selected image and listen to the story behind it.
Picture 2. 2 boats on the beach. This shot was taken rather by chance while passing by on the beach in the beautiful town of Deal in the southeast of England. The first thing that struck me was the incredible balanced arrangement of the 2 boats in relation to each other. Added to this was the impressive blue sky and the pebble structure in the fog. Then, by chance, a light unfolded that was unrevealed. I exposed with a medium aperture of 5.6 so that I had enough reserve for later image processing. I imagined what these 2 boats would look like if I had shot them with a red filter on an Ilford FP4 film. In post-processing, I decided to maximize the contrast without losing the details in the highlights of the light-revealing cloud. I darkened the sky and worked out the wonderful pattern in the wood on the left boat with the help of some masking, whereby it became apparent that the right boat also needed a little support in order to stand out from the background. Fortunately, The lens produces a correspondingly light vignette which supports the overall impression wonderfully.
Wow, thanks, Ralph. What have you found to be the greatest challenge in shooting black and white? We asked Ralph. And how did you overcome that challenge? He said, the biggest challenge for me in photography is not to take too many shots of a subject. Digital photography allows countless images of the same subject to be produced from different perspectives, and that can overwhelm a photographer. By switching to my old Leica M8 camera, it was possible for me to focus on the subject again, because that camera is infinitely slower, and I can only take a maximum of 1 or 2 shots before the scene changes. I had a Leica Q digital camera, but I gave that to my wife because I took thousands of shots with it. That's when I returned to my old Leica M8, which forced me to slow down, and that helped me to deliberately focus on my photographic journey. Using slow cameras and doing everything manually is the solution to my problem. Our final question was something new. How would you describe yourself as a photographer? And what's your perfect equipment setup? Ralph said, I see myself as a photographer who's always looking for light and shadow. Some of my friends call me the light hunter. It's precisely the interplay of light and shadow that fascinates me the most, and I always find scenes in which light plays a special role, even on gray days. My preferred equipment setup is using Leica's rangefinder system, which is the perfect solution to simplify framing of my subjects. The rangefinder opens a completely different way of seeing the world for me. That's what my M8 is. The pure manual focusing delivers faster access to the details that I want to make visible in my pictures. With my M8 rangefinder, I like to use vintage lenses because they offer a special way of rendering my photos. My main camera is a 16-year-old M8 used together with a 60-year-old Summicron lens. It gives me exactly the results I want with a black and white image. Now, let's enjoy Ralph's final artist-selected image and its story.
Picture number 3. Pedestrians and lights on the dog walk. One of the first pictures I posted on Vero. I was out walking the dog when I saw this stunning scene. I saw the fog and the vehicle with its headlights on coming out of the fog towards us, and I knew that if I used the camera now, I would get a really good black and white image. The composition was quick. The road provided the leading line and guides the view into the right direction, into the vanishing point from which the light appears. I choose the exposure on the brightest point of the scene to enhance the fog. But I was missing something on the right edge of the picture to balance the composition. I decided to lighten up the birch a little bit to make it visible, so that it formed a balance to the negative space on the left. I developed the image as if it had been subjected to push process that gained about 1.5 f-stops. That's why I also decided in favor of the strong grain, which also supported the effect of the fog. The picture creates an almost transcendental mood in which the two protagonists walk towards the light, and the strong dark values make the whole picture appear mystically.
That brings us to the end of today's show. We hope you enjoyed meeting Ralf Dubbelfeld and his amazing black and white artistry. To see more of his images, visit his gallery on Vero. share some likes, and consider following his photography journey if you aren't already. We'd like to thank Ralf for joining us on the Black and White Bistro today. Would you like to have a chance to be on the Black and White Bistro? First, follow me at kaiju_creative_black and white. Second, start using our new hashtag Black and White Bistro on your best black and white image posts. Finally, you'll find my email information on the Linktree QR code on your screen right now. Send me a DM on Vero, or you can send me that email and indicate your interest and introduce yourself. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to mark your calendars so you don't miss episode 5, coming exclusively here on Vero on April 27, 2 weeks from today. And don't forget, if you're not shooting in black and white, you're only seeing half the picture.